June Maloney pulled her olive-green Chevrolet Couvert to a halt outside the house on the corner of the quiet suburban street. It was 4 p.m. June, 26 years old, slightly built, freckles, vibrant red hair, looked out the window to see the familiar tree-lined streets and yards separated by white picket fences. There had been barbecues with neighbours during the summer, gossip across snowplows in winter, happy memories from the early days of her marriage. But those were in the past. Her situation with Joe had been impossible and untenable for years. The ragged stitch marks in the white convertible roof above her head, where his knife had torn through 2 months previously, served as a reminder of this. June turned off the engine. Joey, her little boy, got out of the passenger seat and ran up the steps, past the maple tree in the yard which held the swing his father built for him, and to the front door. Joey was 4 years old, but not for much longer. The following day he was turning 5, and although he was too young to understand why his mom and dad had separated, he definitely didn't object to their plan to hold 2 birthday parties in his honour. June followed him from the car to her former home, a 2-story building with a white trim and gable roof. As much as she didn't want to be here, she was determined to make this work for her kids. June was a head nurse at Rochester's Genesee Hospital, and she knew how to care for others. Now she was learning how to look after herself. It had been over 2 months since she had left this house and the man within it. Wanda, her friend, a kind and newly married 19-year-old who lived opposite June's new apartment in Lyle Avenue, was minding Joey's sister, 18-month-old Patty Ann, while June took Joey to his father. June had been unhappy for a long time, but she was turning a corner. Maybe Joe could see that too. The debts, threats, intimidation and lies, the madness. It had been a nightmare. She'd made a fresh start. Maybe he could be civil and accept she'd met another man. The birthday party was underway when June stepped into the living room. At least a dozen people were here, including June's 23-year-old brother Dale Fisk and his wife-to-be Gladys McDermott. The couple were recently engaged, and June's estranged husband had offered to host the party partly in celebration of the engagement. Joey opened his presents and June gravitated towards a group of her nursing colleagues in attendance with their children. They included Carol Reckon and her son. Joe was in the centre of proceedings, soaking up attention as usual. He was 6 feet 2 inches tall and a redhead, like June, but while she was reserved and quiet, he was a whirlwind of activity. Orchestrating proceedings, regaling the guests with tall tales while simultaneously acting as bartender. Now he was towering over June and Carol where they sat. "What do you want to drink?" "I'm driving," said Carol. "I'll just have a beer." He looked at June. "Want your regular?" She nodded. Joe disappeared into the kitchen and emerged minutes later with Carol's beer and June's screwdriver, a cocktail of orange juice and vodka, which she served in a water glass decorated with a blue-brown pattern. Dale and Gladys had the same. The adults sat and talked while the children played with Joey's toys. The guests knew about the conflict and June and Joe's separation, but the subject was not raised and, to everyone's relief, June's most of all, Joe was being civil. He went outside to start a charcoal fire, fired up steaks and served food. He fixed June a second drink in the kitchen, this time a Manhattan, made with whiskey, sweet vermouth, and bitters. After dinner, June and Joe stepped out of the room. Dale overheard them arguing about her car, information he later recounted in police testimony. June fell quiet and went upstairs. A few minutes later, Joe followed her, prompting June to return to the living room. "I don't feel so good," she whispered to her brother. She looked tired and drowsy, like she'd had too much to drink. "The Manhattan was awfully strong," she told him. "I couldn't even finish it.